to your browser, add extension, here it is. It automatically.
I'm reacting to.
They would have to do it on a new upcoming Switch.
You'd be dividing the community. The hardware wouldn't be improved.
I mean, it might not take Nintendo to make Splatoon 3 5 years. I mean, just because it took them 5 years to make Splatoon 2 doesn't mean it might take them Splatoon 3 5 years. Less.
I think I figured it out. So one topic of discussion that has been sparked as of late has been when will Splatoon 3 launch? Now that the updates for Splatoon 2 have ended with the exception of some small patches here and there, we can't help but wonder when the release day of the third game will happen. Now, talk about Splatoon 3 has been happening for a while, ever since the ending of the Final Fest, but it's
actually, it literally might be two more years because, wait, 2017. Yeah, it might as well take 2 more years because
discussions about it have been revitalized after the final Splat. Wait, so you mean that instead of Chaos versus Order, which has been, like, one has been ensuing over this year, the Final Fest is actually technically with condiments?
they were. How did you? Well, he did know that, but. And this.
What? I've seen conversations about this game's release ranging from 2024 to later this year, which you're free to believe whatever you like, but I really can tell you that I'm not believing this theory one bit. Yeah, I guess a couple little Easter eggs like the 2020 Salmon picture and the 3 and Agent 8 and Agent 3's hair might hint at something, but there's still nothing official, and for a big game like Splatoon 3, they would certainly let people know as soon as possible. With us already halfway through the year, I'm not believing in that idea too much. While doing research for how long it would take to make Splatoon 2 after Splatoon 1 was made, in a review by Nintendo Everything with Mr. Nogami, they started development on Splatoon 2 in October 2015 about. That means it took a little over a year and a half approximately for Splatoon 2 to be developed. Even looking at the test fire demo in late March and comparing it to the full game, the game still wasn't completely done being developed, so they still put the finishing touches in it probably up until May 2017. If we're assuming that they take the exact same amount of time working on the game, which they probably won't considering they might want to add more things to Splatoon 3, the fact that Animal Crossing came out a couple months back, and other things going on in the world, at best Splatoon 3 will probably come out January 2021.
I
giving the
forget
developers the benefit of the doubt and thinking they worked on Splatoon 3 a day after the reviews in mid-July 2019 said that they weren't. Also, just a quick little reminder to spell check, kids. One of the articles I read talking about a big mid-fall 2020 reveal that was boasting about when the release date was and the details of the game were, didn't exactly read before they posted. Case in point.
Yeah.
The arsenal compromises shooters and blasters, rollers and brush. We'll just pretend that first roller said chargers then. Slashers and bellas. What? I don't know about y'all, but I don't believe articles that can't even spell the weapon types correctly. Why'd it come out on October 16, 2020 just because I said that? But Alpha, I hear you ask. Since you're such a wise guy, when do you think Splatoon 3 is releasing? Well, I'm glad you asked because I have a grand theory for when Splatoon 3 is gonna launch. And Splatoon 3 is gonna launch in one of 3 different dates. There's facts like development time, which I talked about earlier, and there are also forks in the road that developers can end up taking. One example was Zelda 2015, aka Breath of the Wild, which was supposed to be out in 2015, but later launched as a Switch title in 2017. It was built for the Wii U, but the developers decided to port that over to the Switch. Let's go through what we know about when Splatoon 3 will launch first of all. Splatoon 3 is going to launch on a Friday. All of Nintendo's great titles from Mario Odyssey to Breath of the Wild to 1-2 Switch all came out on a Friday. There's also a reason why I know Splatoon 3 will launch in the summer months. With the exception of Smash, Nintendo has a knack for putting out their recent multiplayer-based games during the late spring or summer months. Especially the summer months. ARMS released in June, Mario Maker 2 released in June, Mario Tennis Aces released in June, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe released in April, and Splatoon 2 of course released in July. Also, the artist of the sprite you see on screen has a birthday in June, so say happy birthday, that's an extra dose of luck. So the first timeline I can see them going down is the immediate route. The Splatoon
Yeah.
developers want to go Mario Galaxy on the Switch and release 2 Splatoon games on the Switch. Nogami wants to buy another yacht after spending his money from Splatoon 2 profits, and the developers decide to buckle down and create Splatoon 3 as fast as possible. While I still don't agree with the little 2020 Easter eggs, this could be a sign that they might want to release it sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Who knows, they might even use the popular Repeat Splatfest idea a couple
We were in this live stream, but sadly,
more times in order to pad the time in
we were
Splatoon
in
2.
this.
For development
We were
reasons, the
in
fastest
that
I can
live
see them doing
stream,
this more time sooner rather
but
than later.
sadly
Who
we
knows,
couldn't
they might
add
even
him
use the
because
popular Repeat
we weren't
Splatfest
on
idea a
catch up.
couple more
This
times in order
idiot
to pad the time in
stepbrother
Splatoon
decided
2.
to
For
just
development reasons, the fastest I can see them
pick
getting this game out with the
mayo.
feeling of a brand new Splatoon game that brings a
He was
bunch
like,
of new
oh,
things to the table
I think
would be in
that's
2021 or
mustard,
2022.
so I'm gonna
The
pick
Switch's
that.
game schedules have simmered down a lot since 2017, and other than
And
games
then
like
we told
Bayonetta
him it
3,
was mayo.
Pikmin 4, yeah, I didn't forget about that game, Metroid Prime 4, and Breath of the Wild 2, which are 4 highly anticipated games, of course. Nothing too big is planned to come out until the Switch past July with the new Paper Mario game coming out. Splatoon 3 will be a perfect way of giving people something to do during 2021 or 2022 to help hold them over for that year. Now, if I had to predict a date when this new Splatoon game
it's
would
not
come
wrong.
during this timeline, I would go for June 17th, 2022. This date gives the developers enough time to give us more at-launch content and a different feeling game than Splatoon 2, but it'll be out relatively quickly. The reason that another Splatoon game might launch on the Switch as well is because, according to President Kimishima back in 2018, the Switch was planned to be supported for 7 to 10 years. With a longer lifespan
7
than
to
normal,
10
especially longer
years.
than the Wii U's lifespan, they might need to double up on some games in order to keep the Switch interesting in that meantime. However, if you don't personally agree with this timeline other than taking away a year, I have another one that you might be interested in. Now, this is the timeline that I can personally resonate with. I can perfectly understand why a lot of you want to play Splatoon 3 in 2021 or 2022. You guys feel like the developers can make the game pretty quickly, already knowing Splatoon 2's formula, having a whole cast of characters and weapons to already move over, and frankly just wanting to play Splatoon 3. But one thing that the release of Splatoon 3 might rely heavily on is the release day of Nintendo's next console. Like I said earlier in this video, the Switch is planned to be supported for 7 to 10 years. If this is the case, then the developers don't want to release a third game on the same console, then this will push out when the third game comes out a lot. It isn't impossible to assume that there could be only one Splatoon game per console. If you don't believe me, then I'll give you a couple of examples. What are 2 other Nintendo Switch games that have online multiplayer as part of its gameplay? Perhaps one you could say is quite infamous for its online. I bet my bottom dollar that a lot of you said Mario Kart or Super Smash Bros. Is one of your choices. Well, if we look at
No.
these 2 games here, we can see that both franchises only have games that release once per
I like
console. Like
Smash
in Mario
more
Kart releasing on the
than,
SNES, Nintendo
Mario
64,
Kart.
then the Game Boy, then the GameCube, then the...
Then the
We don't talk about the arcade game.
Oh.
Yeah, that's just a lawsuit waiting to happen. And in Smash's case,
Oof.
it's the same with Smash 64 coming on the Nintendo 64, mainly on the GameCube, Brawl on the Wii, so on and so forth. The wait between Brawl and 4 alone was 6 years. These are 2 examples of why I can see Splatoon coming out only once per console. Also, the developers want to make as much money as Splatoon 2 as possible, as Splatoon 2 is still selling, and 3 years later being the 8th best selling game on the Switch, it's unlikely that they'll make another one on the same console. But Alpha, I hear you yell at me, when will Splatoon 3 be out in this timeline? And to that I say, June 25th, 2027.
that
Does that
20.
scare you? Does it make you want it sooner? Because
No.
it does for me, and that date was just a joke. My real prediction for this timeline would be June 15th, 2024. This gives the developers more than enough time to plan out the lore and create the best Splatoon game possible for our long wait. There might be an addition of 1 or 2 years depending on how long the Switch lasts if this timeline were to stay true. I don't think Nintendo will be that brutal with their wait for Splatoon 3, and in addition to me just being impatient, I have a logical reason as to why that is. In a February 2020 investors meeting, current Nintendo president Shintaro Furukawa stated that the Switch was about in the middle of its life cycle. Being only 3 years in, halfway means we only have 3 or 4 more left to go until Nintendo's next console past even an upgraded Switch comes out. Also, for a little timeline 2.5, in between
3 or 4 more years and Nintendo's gonna add a new console. I doubt that, and I want to doubt that.
launches of the main game series, it's always possible to get us a
I
spin-off
literally
in the
want to
meantime.
doubt that.
Your guess is as good as mine on what that could be, of course. It also might be possible that they just sport Splatoon Splatoon 1 over to the Switch, as the two games actually stand out a decent amount. They ended up doing the same thing with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and some Zelda games after all. Splatoon 2 newcomers would get the chance to live through the horrors of Damage Up, Bubblers, Krakens, maps that were included in Splatoon 2, in my opinion the Barra DJ Octavio boss fight, and even more. In addition, you can add new things to this port like a couple new maps, modes, or weapons, but time will tell if this actually happens. Actually, there was a third timeline that I almost forgot to bring up. In the last timeline, Splatoon 3 won't ever launch. Splatoon 3 might have a chance of going F-Zero on us, and
Please.
never getting another sequel. But that's not likely to happen. Splatoon is one of Nintendo's most popular franchises in recent
Oh, wait,
history,
shut up.
and I doubt that's gonna go away. Isn't
I haven't
that
seen
right,
this video
Nogami?
yet, so don't spoil it.
Nogami? But hey, that's just a theory.
And I'm
A splat theory.
theory.
What do you think Splatoon 3 is gonna launch? Let
You
me know
stole
in the
that
comments
outro
below.
from Game
Also, if
Theory.
you want more Splatoon 2 content,
That
click
was
right
kinda
there where I
funny.
turn Splatoon 2 into a Nuzlocke. Or click right there where I talk about all the things I love about Splatoon 2. And of course, remember to subscribe to Alphastar716 for more content on
Okay.